All right. What is up, guys? So, welcome to Wednesday. What is this? Welcome to Wednesday, October 30th. We got one more day till Halloween. And, geez, the month of October is almost over. Holy cow. Whew, where did the time go? Yowza. Seems like just yesterday it was blistering hot outside and we were just starting this thing. But here we are, week 11 of our live stream series. And this week what we're covering is doing more photo placement and photo projection. So normally, or I was going to wait on the photo projection, wait until this week to show you how to project photos. But I did a fairly good job, I think. I did a fairly good job of it last week. In that where we modeled what am I going to say? We modeled some houses, right? We did some exterior modeling, took 2 photographs, and we modeled a house. And then from there, we projected those textures outwards from the photograph onto the house itself. Now, that can be done with any photograph, right? We can do it with a phone, a camera, a drone if you want to. If you want to get up above, if you have a crime scene in a yard and you want to project a photo out, you can and fly a drone over it and then project that. You certainly can. And that's going to be a little bit more of what we're covering today. Not so much photo projection as it is texture placement. So we're going to be using photographs as textures. Now, you saw just a little bit of that back when we did the episode on vehicle cosmetic features, where we drew a plane and we took a car and we drew a plane, we put a model in, and then we placed a texture onto that plane. You got to see a little bit of that in that episode, but we're going to take this just a little bit further. So I've got two things we're going to be covering today. The first one's going to be crash, where we are going to take a photograph of a tire that's got a scuff mark around the outside or around the outside of it. We know the tire size. We've got a good orthogonal, roughly orthogonal. There's going to be a couple things we're going to change there, but a roughly orthogonal photograph of the tire straight on, showing the scuffing around the outside where the vehicle ran up on a concrete curb that scuffed the outside edge of the tire before the vehicle then careened off to the right. So drunk driver goes up on the curb. Oh my gosh, I'm up on the curb. Cranks the wheel right and then ends up hitting somebody. So what we want to do is we want to create a model of a tire with that photograph onto the surface of the tire so that that photograph is what we're able to show, right? And then we could place it onto a model and then take that model into reveal. So taking that photograph and put it onto a model. The second example we're going to do is a crime scene. This is a forced entry where some very bad people decided to force their way into a garage and then go in and go into the house and assault people. And what we've got are crowbar marks, or at least pry bar marks, where they shoved it into between the door and the frame and then pried the frame outward, or I guess the door outward from the frame. Anyway, pried it open enough that the latch released, and then they were able to make their way inside with a forced entry. And we're going to take photographs of that paint transfer from that tool. So we've got paint transfer from the tool, and then we've got scratches on the door where they tried once and then the bar slipped off and left scratches on the door. They tried again, were able to get it in, pried, left the paint on the inside. So that's what we're going to be working on today. Both crash and crime, doing photo placement or photo texturing of our models. Sherry, thank you for the comment. So I forgot to mention, I'm monitoring your comments. So Sherry on YouTube left me a comment. So good to see it. So coming up next week, we have Open Line Wednesday, where I still haven't settled on what we're going to do. We may, I don't know. The iPad episode got a lot of views, seemed to generate a lot of interest. So we could work with the iPad Live. There's some other things we could do. One thing I didn't cover in this series that I said I was going to, but I didn't get around to it, was how to take hand measurements. So how to go into a crime scene and we use a disto or a tape measure and we measure out each room and then we come away with these hand measurements, then how do we draw a diagram in SketchUp and then take that into Reveal? I didn't cover that. I was planning to, had all intents and the best of intentions, right? However, it just didn't happen. So that is something I could do for Open Line Wednesday as well. For this episode, if you have any suggestions for Open Line Wednesday, if you've seen something the last few weeks that interests you, that you find interesting, or we flat out didn't cover, like doing making a model from hand measurements, put it in the chat. So I'm monitoring the chat right now. Like I said, Sherry on YouTube left me a comment. So leave it in the chat if you have an idea of what you want to do next week. I would really, really, really appreciate the feedback. Otherwise, yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So to prevent you all from being bored out of your minds, I would highly recommend shoot me a comment of what you'd like to see next week. With that, let's get cracking. So we're going to transition over to SketchUp here. All right, what I've got in front of the SketchUp window, let me move that over. There we go. So what I've got here is just the directory where I put all my photographs, and these are just DSLR photographs. I was taken with a Canon M50. Best results you're going to get are take your camera into manual mode, set your white balance, set your exposure, set your shutter speed, set your ISO. Set all of those things in manual mode so you're taking good photographs the whole way through, and then leave it. And that comes in handy if you watched last week. We had some color mismatch, some exposure mismatch when we were projecting from different angles. That can be alleviated by keeping your camera set at the same exposure as you move around. So for the tire, what we've got here is a side-on view of our tires. This is a Goodyear Wrangler RTS. If we zoom in here, this is a 255/70 R16 tire. Like I said, we've got the scuff mark here where the drunk driver managed to run up onto the curb. So this is something interesting that we want to be able to show. So what I've done is I've calculated out, or I could have measured it, I guess, but a 255/70 R16 has a tire height or tire diameter of 30.1 inches. Now keep in mind, we've got some squat here. So the 30.1 is going to be from side to side, not top to bottom. So let's get into SketchUp here, and we'll get in. All right, I apologize. I've already got the one started for the crime scene, so let's get over here and we're going to work on the tire off to the side. I'm going to view my axes here just to get an idea where I'm at. Okay, so we want a tire, and I mentioned that it was 30.1 inches. So I'm going to make this on the green axis. It could be on any axis, but I'm going to take this out. And SketchUp here, it's tough to see for you guys in the bottom right because my fat head is in the way. You know what, I'm going to turn myself off. There we go. So you guys can see on the bottom right where the radius is. So the template that I'm using here, this is all in architectural feet. I guess I could change that. You know what? Heck with it. I'm going to change this. So I'm going to go into my model info here, and I'm going to change my format instead of architectural. I'll just do it in decimal inches. So that allows me to work that way. All right. So I'm going to create a tire here, and half of the radius, so it's 30.1 for the height or our diameter. So I'm going to make that, instead of 30.1, I'm going to make that 15.05 inches. So you'll see that down there on the bottom right. Oop, I apologize. You guys aren't seeing that. Sorry, I forgot to hit the transition. There we go. Okay, my fat head is out of the way. So let's make this 15.05 inches. You'll notice that in the bottom right, and I'll hit enter. And I now have a circle that is 15.05 inches. Now that I've got that, I'm going to hide my axis indicator here. select that, triple click. Before I make that a group, I'm also going to push pull this. So a 255/70R16 has a width of 255 mm for millimeters. Now that's something I love about SketchUp is I can make this, like I said, down there in the bottom right. Let me undo that, Control Z. Even though I'm working in inches, we can convert this. So again, on the distance, what I'm going to do here is hit P for push-pull. I'm going to highlight this, and I'm going to slide that over. And again, I want this 255 mm for millimeters. Enter. I now have the basic shape of my tire. Now, again, this is the tread width. Odds are the tire is going to be just a little bit wider than that, but for specification purposes, it's what we got. Okay, I'm also going to put a guide in here from center to center. This just helps me just a little bit to line things up and make sure that my center is in place. I'm also going to put these in. Control Z, there we go. There we go. And this kind of helps me lining things up. Some people don't like to use guides. I do. I like using these guides because this way it gets me where I want to be. All right. So I'm going to select all of this, and I'm just going to... I'm a little worried I didn't get it. There we go. I'm going to make that a group. Now I'm going to go into the group. And how I know I'm in the group, if I'm outside the group, hit escape here. If I click this, it's using the whole darn thing. So when I click it, I'm able to move this whole darn thing. When I get in here, so I'm going to double click to get inside of the group. Now I can select individual faces. And that's what I want to use. So I want to start out, and this is best done with parallel projection. I'm going to look at C. Nope. So left gets me there. Guess I should just use these. Zoom down here. All right. All right. So camera, standard views, left didn't do it. Let me get to front. There we go. So I'm currently working on the front of this tire in parallel projection. Now, what I want to do is I want to file, import. For this, I want to pick out one of my photographs. I'm going to use image 2400. When it says use image as, we don't want to use this as an image per se. We want to use this as a texture. And since we're not doing projection, we don't have any parallel lines to establish our vanishing point. Yeah, we're just going to use this as a texture. So I'm going to hit import. And next, it's going to ask me, where do you want to place it? I'm just going to place it here. Don't worry if it's not on the center. We're going to fix that here in a little bit. And as far as scaling, don't worry about getting it exact. What we want to do is just bring it out here, kind of. Now, by default, these things tile. So come up here, right click. I apologize, that's off the screen. So right click, texture, and I want to position my image. What I'm going to do is move this down. Now, we have a couple ways we can do this. The first way is like this with it at all four corners. I don't like that as much. I'm going to move this to, I think, the center of my wheel. Now, there's always going to be some projection error here somewhere. I'm going to move this right about here, kind of towards the edge. Move this one up. See there, it's aligned to my center, so I'll click there. I'm kind of wanting to place these in a bit of a grid. You can do this without placing it in a grid. I like to place it in a grid. I'm going to roughly position this right here. Now you'll see when I'm moving that, let me get zoomed in here. When I'm moving that, this pin, it will snap. Because I put those guides in, it'll snap that very easily to the center of my tire. Otherwise, I could just come out here, move it in and inference it, but man, having those snaps in place is really nice. Okay, so I'm in the center and I have this to the right. I'm going to drag this out so that I'm roughly scaled left to right. Now, I'm not going to be scaled bottom to top, and reason for that is I must not have been perfectly perpendicular to the tire. It must have been just a little bit high, which is then causing a little bit of distortion issue. So we have our pins here that allows us to distort and scale shear. And this allows us to shear it if we had any of those issues. We don't so much have that as much as we have some distortion in how the image was taken. What I'm going to do here is line this up as best I can anyway. I may have to do a little bit of undistortion. Actually, I'll take that back. There we go. We're not too far off. What I'm wanting is a good, even distribution. And again, my picking here isn't exact where I want it to be as far as the center. So I'm going to move this down. And what I'm going for is a best fit on the tread itself. Stop snapping. Here we go. And I need to undistort this just a touch. Pretty awful photographer on this deal. Okay, there we go. So I've got it now lined up. So the center of the wheel is at the center of the wheel. We got a little bit here where we got some tire squat, and then we're also fitting around the outside edge. We're looking pretty good. I may need to squish this in just a little bit at the top. My left and right look good, but my top to bottom is not. What I'm looking for is really a best fit right up here. The bottom, and not so much because we do have some squish there. Yeah, so we got left side, right side, and the top done. And of course, on the bottom, we're going to have just a little bit of squish, which is fine. From here, we right click and say done. And now we have a model that has the photograph on the front. Now for the tread, I'm going to come up here to materials. Now, you could probably go get a tire texture. Those of you that are so inclined, I know some of you. I know there are some of you that watch these that are good enough in order to take a photograph of a tire tread and then create a seamless texture and then apply that. I know there are some of you out there. Justin, I'm looking at you if you're watching. I know some of you are definitely good enough to do this. But what I am going to do, I'm going to take the lazy way out. Ask anybody, they'll tell you I will take the lazy way out any way I can. So in the materials here, I'm going to come up to my patterns, and it gives me some patterns here that I can go look and find something that might resemble something like a tire. Rectangles running 3.1. Let's see what that looks. Oh, nope. Control Z. Undo. Okay. What it just did there is it selected the tire face and the edge. That's what this. You know, actually, that might not. That one's not going to tile very well. Let's do that one. It's not great. Yeah. What are we looking for here? So if I wasn't in the mood to take the lazy way out, you know what? We're going to do something with this one. So this one's kind of a, what is that? A herringbone. 2x1. We're going to make a change to this. So I'm going to take this And nope, I can't do that. Overall, it's not too bad, though. So what I can do here is I can change this so that maybe it's, oh, I don't know, 32 inches. Nope, 8 inches. I gotta have it. All right, so that's one option. Something else I can do is I can darken that up so it doesn't quite stand out quite so bad. You know what? Let's do this. Let's get in here and let's pick that so it's kind of color matched. There we go. Yeah, I can live with that. All right, now the reason that looks weird is because we're still in parallel projections. I'm going to go back to perspective, and we now have our wheel and tire. So from here, what I will do now is you can either come in and delete your guides. The guides are actually a part of the wheel. So if I wanted to create another one of these, what I would do, I just hit the M key, and I'll just hit that. Click on the wheel. I'm moving, but I'm going to press the Control key. And now I can put another one of these up front on the car if I wanted to. So you can either keep those guides in place, or one way to do is we can just do View and turn off guides, and now we don't see any of our guides. The guides are still there. They're just not visible. You know what? Let's dress this up just a little bit. I wasn't going to do this, but you know what? Let's dress it up. So I'm going to go back, turn my guides back on. We're going to dress this up just a hair. So I'm drawing on the surface. How I know I got it right is, man, I'm drawing this out, and it is not too awful bad. So I'm going to draw that, and I'll draw that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this thing, or this, how do I want to do this? Because I can either push-pull it to create some depth. Yeah, let's try that. So I can push-pull this in. Keep in mind, it's going to do some kind of funky things to my texture. Something else I can do is I can just take this and move it backwards. Ooh, yeah, definitely don't want to do that. Control-Z. Control-Z. Stop it. So I can just push-pull this back just a touch. Create that, and then what I'll do is take this herringbone. Just put that in there. And there we go. We got just a little bit of depth. If I wanted to, let's create a new material here. And I will undo the texture image. Hit OK. Edit group. There we go. I'll also put that in there. There we go. So now there's a little bit of depth to that 3D wheel. Now we could do a few different things to it, such as push-pulling out in the center. We could do something to kind of revolve that, but I think I'm going to just leave it as is. All right, so now I've got a little bit of 3D effect. Now, something you could do here is you could go get a... we could go get a, what am I trying to say? Could go get a tire and wheel if we could find one that was about the same, or we could photo model this thing too. We could draw in the trapezoids. We could push those all the way through to create one. Unfortunately, we're at 30 minutes and kind of at the point where I got to move on. You know what? I like this. I'm just going to remove my guides. Let's clean that up just a touch. There we go. Close my group. And now I've got a tire with the photograph projected. So keep in mind, you can do this with damage on a car as well. So if you've got paint scratches, scuffs, not just on a wheel, but on the body, you can take and put an image onto the body of the car. So again, if you've got paint transfer or scratches or anything else on the car that you really need to customize this model, you can do that here. And as we've done in other weeks, all you have to do is then save it as an SKP and go into Reveal. I find it's, yeah, pretty pretty neat to do that, have that kind of photo texturing in Reveal. To me, I think that added level of realism is really, really neat to be able to take that over into Reveal and expand the use. Okay, we've got our tire done. And just for the sake of cleanup, I'm going to hit delete. Tire's gone. Okay, let's work on a crime scene. So, for the photographs on the crime scene, let me get that back open here. Okay, so we've got a forced entry here, and what we've got is a door. Looks like a kind of a paneled door with a what am I trying to say? Kind of a brass door handle looking thing. We took some measurements of the door, and right here you'll see there is a tool mark where a red crowbar or red bar was used. We've got some teeth marks on the door where we've got some scratches. For good forensic practice, we put it up so it is about 88. So 88, about 88 centimeters above the 88 centimeters above the threshold. There we go. Good close-up of the tool marks, and again, good forensic photographs means we have a scale in the photograph. This bar seems to be about 1.5 inches long, and yes, I am intermingling. Metric and imperial. Shoot me. I know there are some of you out there that are detail enough oriented that's driving you nuts, and I'm intermingling metric and standard. Okay, so we've got a scale in there. We've got where the bar was in and slipped out, caused some scratches. Again, a good scale measurement and then an overview. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to take this door photograph. We're going to overlay it on our door. And then from there, we're going to get in close. We're going to create some guides, and we're going to project these scratches and this damage to the door. So I've gone ahead and I've modeled the door. I've also created a threshold guide here for the threshold, just showing where we're going to be measuring from. Okay, for the door, let's get in here and let's position this on the door. So I'm going to select the surface. I'm going to click down in here until I get to the surface of the door itself. Now there's going to be some barrel distortion here, so it's not going to be perfect, but it is going to be fairly close. So what I'm going to do here is go to File, Import. I'm going to grab my image here, and I'll hit Import. And yeah, don't worry if it comes in odd. We'll make a change to it here in a moment. So I'm going to right-click, Texture, Position. First thing I'm going to do, rotate this thing around because it's driving me nuts where it was. There we go. Now what I'm going to do a little bit different method on this one. I'm just going to go, I'm going to remove the fixed pins. And I'm going to free move this thing or free stretch it, just to show you what that looks like. It isn't necessarily applicable here, but it allows you to come in here and position a photograph using 4 points. That up there, that there. This one right down in there. This one right down in here. All right, from here, let's get to dragging. I'm going to drag that up. Don't worry if it gets wonky on you. There we go. So drag it up to the corner. It snaps there. Drag this one up to the corner. It snaps there. This one, we're going to drag it down to the ground. Let me see where that's at. Oh, got to zoom out just a bit. There we go. So from here, drag this one down to the corner there. Zoomed in. There we go. This one down right about there. Again, the effects of barrel distortion is that the middle is not going to exactly be where we want it to be. Or, you know what? I may not have positioned that handle where I wanted to either. So I'm going to close the group. All right, and I've now put that photograph as a texture onto that surface. Now, overall, it isn't too bad. Let me get in here. I need to move my door handles. And this was kind of a wild guess when I put this in. So there is some barrel distortion. I'm not going to get too crazy because I know it's not perfect. There we go. Yeah, I can live with that. All right, and we've now projected that photograph onto the door. So if you had some unique features of this door, you know, you had a keyhole or something like that, yeah, it'd be really slick to do. So, all right, moving on. Now on this door, we've got some marks that are over in here. Get in here. I'm just going to hide this just because it's going to be in my way. Oh, sorry, I want to turn that. And hidden objects. There we go. I want to hide that because it's just going to get in my way. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to, let me close out of this group, just hitting escape, and go back to my photographs. So in my photographs, I need a guideline. You know what? I think this is the one I'm going to use. I like this because it's kind of orthogonal. It allows me to get in here and, yeah, it really allows me to get in here. So I'm going to zoom back out here. That's not the one I want, though. Where is it? There we go. So the defect is about 88 centimeters. Above the threshold. Minimize all of that. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create a guide that is 88 cm, enter. And I have my guide. So that's the bottom of my defect. I like it. Next, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create another one here that is 3 cm. Just another guide. Now what that's going to do is act as a scale bar for me so that I can scale it up. All right, so I'm going to take my door and I'm going to hide it. So now I can see right on my threshold itself. I get in here, I select this surface because the jam is where I want to put it. I'm going to File, Import. And I'm going to import that good orthogonal 3D image, or not 3D image, sorry, the good orthogonal image of the damage. There we go. Again, don't worry if it doesn't quite fit. It's okay. Next, I am going to texture position. And for this one, I want fixed pins. I'm going to put it roughly on the edge. Actually, when I modeled this, I kept the edge of the... because where it shuts is right about here, because I've got that, that weather stripping. Move that there. That one right about... Oop. That one right about here. There we go. So it's kind of square. Okay, from here, I need to move this down. And the edge of my... Where's my edge? There we go. So here I'm on my edge. Need to line this up so that what I first want to do is I want to scale this appropriately. Oh, in actuality, I'm going to move this up here. And I want to scale this. So what did I make that? 3 centimeters? I think I made that guide 3 centimeters. So I'm scaling this up so that between these two guides from here to here is going to be 3 centimeters. Now that I've got that scaled, I'll move this back to there, move this back to my edge where it shuts. From there, I position it right on the edge of my geometry, wherever that's at. There we go. Yeah, that's where it's at. And then the bottom of the damage was at this bottom of this guide. Now I need to rotate this just a touch. Oh no, shouldn't have Control Z that. All right, we get to do this again. Sorry, guys. Shouldn't have Control Z that. I guess I could have gone back, but put myself back there. Find my guide. There we go. So there's the bottom. And I'll just scale her up until I hit 3 centimeters. There we go. All right. So from here, now I just drag her on. Nope. Need to reposition that. I want to get it on the edge of my photograph. So that the bottom of my damage is at the bottom of my guide. And then from there, just rotate that around. So at the edge of my there we go. All right, so our damage is in, it's scaled appropriately. However, our texture tiles in here, and I don't necessarily want that. So what I want to do is I want to separate this out so that we're only getting that piece of it where we want it to be. So I'm going to come up in here, and I'm just going to create a rectangle. And I want to rectangle out where that sits. Now for the rest of the jam, I just want to apply that texture. And zip, zam, zoom, we now have a scaled texture projection onto that surface. Now what I love about this is that, man, I can get in here in my 3D model and I can model off of this all day long. I mean, I can actually, I need to change this a bit. Let me get down in here. I need to move this over just a touch. Because I need that where the door stops to be to the right just a touch. So I'll slide that over right there. There we go. That's where the door stops. And then I need to move that so that I'm just cropping out that ruler. Beautiful. All right, next for the door. So I'll unhide my door. I've got my two guides here. Now, with the door is a group. Let me get back out of here. So what I'm going to do is take these two guides. Actually, I just need this guide right here. So with this guy, what I am going to do... Let me look at my photograph, see what I got. I've got a couple options on how I want to attack this. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. So what I can do here is I can take that good orthogonal... Oh, I think I got a better one. Yeah, that's the one I want. All right, so what's the width of this thing? So we have two... There's 1, 2, 3, 5, so about 30s. 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. So about 36 millimeters from top to bottom. Yeah, about 36 millimeters. Okay, so from here, I'm going to take this guide and go up 36 millimeters. Next, I'm going to take this guide and this guide and that, and I'm going to group that just so. Turn that off. Oh, nope, Control Z. No. This one and this one. I am going to cut that. I'm going to come down in here to the door group. How do I know I got the door group? Because, well, that's the door right there. Next, I'm going to edit paste in place, and now those are part of my door group. Actually, I needed to go one down. Control X. Go one layer deeper. Edit. Paste in place. All right, let's see if this moves the way that I think it's going to move. So next I want to rotate this, just swing my door open. Now there are better ways of doing this, such as using a live component. A live component would probably work a lot better. Nope, didn't move. No worries. So what I will do is take a guide here. I want to go up from I go there to there. I'll just go onto the corner. Next I'll come up. There we go. So that's the bottom. And what did I say? 36 millimeters. So we'll go up 36 mm, enter. Now I've got kind of a guide point up there. That, you know what? I don't really like that. Let me get zoom back out. There we go. So I want to put my guide up. I'm just going to go parallel my door face. There we go. All right, so now I've got that in here. Now I want to place my texture here. Now before I do that, I'm going to get down into this group, and I want to create a rectangle that I'm only placing this here. Because if I don't and I apply it, I'm going to overwrite the texture that I wrote, which is no bueno. Okay, now that I have that rectangle selected, File, Import. Let's find our image. Image 2386, I think, has the best. I think that's the best one. Yeah, we'll just use that. So put that on the edge, bring that up. There we go. And from here, right-click, Texture, and Position. Now, since I know this is 36 millimeters, it wasn't quite the photograph I wanted, so this one might have a bit of stretch to it. Put that up here. Orient myself to my corner of my guides. From there, I'll scale it up. It looks like I need a little bit of rotation here. Put that right on the corner. There we go. Now, if I wanted to, I could come in here. What do I want to do? I want to do an arc. There we go. So the color balance, because I kept the same white balance, same exposure, it's not too far off from where it needs to be. All right, so let's make these guides go away. You know what? Instead of doing this, why don't I just turn the guides off? Oh, what do you know about that? All right, so from here, let's take our door, and we'll just come around here, and we will rotate it. Actually, I need to see my guides because that's where my pin guide is. We'll just shut our door. Man, I'm coming in right on time. And just like that, we've now placed our scratches that are scaled. So this bar must have been, yeah, they must have tried a little bit differently to get that in there. But that, or I didn't scale it right. Yeah, that fits. All right, we got it. So now we have a way of showing, let me turn my guides off. There we go, turn that off. So now we have a way of taking these photographs and placing this photographic evidence into our scene and doing it in such a way that we can really get in and examine this. I mean, I don't know of any other program out there that allows you to get in this close on photographs And I mean, if the question is, you know, on the teeth of this thing, how wide is this? Here, so we can just take our tape measure here. So that's 0.1879, so that's about 1/8 of an inch. And really, we're only limited by the resolution of our camera. Close it back out. There we go. Get through my siding. All right, so this is a way that you can project images onto, or at least overlay images onto surfaces, and really tell the story. This goes beyond just, oh, hey, there was a photograph taken here. This allows you to get in and closely examine it. Now, what I will tell you, this is even cooler in VR. That's all I'm saying. It is just incredibly cool with SketchUp VR. You know what? Maybe that's what we do next week. You know what? That's what we're going to do next week. I'm going to take this model, and we're going to take this, or we're going to take a couple models, and we're going to work in SketchUp VR next week. That sounds like fun. I haven't done that in a while. So next week, we're going to do SketchUp VR. We're going to take this, and we are going to go into VR and examine these scrape marks, or these tool marks on the door. And we're going to examine this scene. We're going to put ourselves in here. We're going to walk over to our door, and we're going to examine these in VR next week. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do VR. Okay. We got Open Line Wednesday figured out. We're going to go into VR. Now, the bad thing about this in VR, I can't monitor you guys. I can't monitor the chat. I'm basically going to be winging it as I go. But yeah, I think next week we're going to go into VR. So that'll be fun. No, I may just do stationary. So I may just sit here, put on the VR headset. Then I'm going to make a way I'll figure out a way so that you guys can see it. I'll compost it in such a way so you guys can see what it is that we're working on. So, all right. With that, I'll transition back out. Okay, hopefully this week was useful. The ability to take photographs and place them on models opens up all kinds of new possibilities. The thing that I love about it is that it looks real. Right? You're not going to get a question of, well, what am I looking at here? What am I looking at here? There isn't much question about what you're looking at here. Right? Especially if you create a scene that has you know what? I didn't do that. Let's create a scene. I'm going to create a scene right here. See here in my match photo. Sorry, guys. I'm kind of going rogue here. So I'm going to create a scene. And we're going to, there we go, style, fog, shadow settings, axes looks good. All right. And then after this scene, I'm going to fly into our door. I'll create a scene here. Next, we'll fly in and we will examine our door. So what we can do now is we can move from this scene, which is our overview. Now we want to get in and we want to explain, well, now we move in closer to the door, and these are where we found the tool marks near the door handle. And then we can transition in and get a close in look of those tool marks. And I mean, we can get in here about like this, and we'll create a scene here. Oh my gosh. There we go. We'll do a tool mark close up. There we go. So scene 2, we have our overview. Scene 3, we're going to fly in. And then scene 4. a little bit closer. And then we can get right in on that tool mark and show what we have. So to me, this is incredibly powerful to be able to present it in this way and then to be able to put that ultra high resolution photography into solid models. And there's no question as to what we're looking at. There's no question, what am I looking at here? That's something we see a lot with point clouds, right? If you're just doing point clouds, this is the power of modeling. It looks real. And it's correct. It's not made up. It's not Pixar. We scaled actual images to a known scale inside of a 3D environment. And now we're visualizing those scaled photographs in that three-dimensional environment. To me, this is incredibly powerful. Again, being able to walk somebody through and show them this in 3D. Again, very, very cool. Just super cool the way that we do this. Okay, enough sidetracking. We're at noon. We're at time. I'm at a hard stop. So, with that, thank you guys very much for joining us. Next week, I'm going to put on a VR headset. That'll be part of what we do next week. You guys are going to go into VR. We're in VR. We're going to go take a look at this. And I'm going to show you how to really closely examine these things in VR. So with that, I'll see you all next week. Looking forward to it.